ever walked into a space and felt that something just shifted inside you? Maybe it was the calm sense of peace or the thrill of possibilities, and you couldn't explain why? The way light falls on your desk in the morning, the sound of the echoing footsteps on wooden flooring, the way a space makes you feel and breathe slower and better, the smell of bricks, wet bricks right after it has rained, and this feeling of cold marble under your feet. All of this, all these moments, this invisible connection between a space and emotion is not a mere accident. It is intelligence. Not the kind of intelligence that you can measure in numbers or in IQ tests. It is called artificial intelligence. Now let's talk about what aesthetic intelligence really means. We all know that love starts with the eye. However, designer Ingrid Fatelli reminds us that true joy, in fact, is multisensory. Visual, auditory, olfactory, gustatory, and somatosensory. Aesthetics is the pleasure that we derive from things like objects and experiences through all of our senses. Although the term aesthetics is usually used to describe how a thing looks, I want you to completely unlearn that and embrace its true meaning, which goes way beyond just visuals. If there is one place on earth that explains that design is not just visuals, it is one of my most personally celebrated architectural marvels called the Thermae Valves. A hotel and a spa, it is, designed by a world-renowned architect named Peter Zumthor in the Swiss Alps. Please stay with me as I take you through my experience of being at the Thermae Valves. As soon as you step into the space, your eyes adjust to a very dark and shadowy light that's filtering through the layers and layers of stones that the spa walls are made of. This light is almost sacred. It's very mystery. It's full of mystery. It doesn't make you look at beauty. Instead, it makes you want to search for it. As you walk barefoot and you step on the cold slate of the spa, somewhere it's patchy, somewhere it's smooth. The building almost makes you feel like you're being humbled down by it, being grounding literally. The sound of the water, not rushing, but whispering, softly echoing through the cavities of water, as if the building is breathing with you. The air smells faintly mineral, raw, and untouched, like the earth itself. Now that's the olfactory sense at work. There is no perfume, just purity. And then the final moment, when you step into the water, the entire dynamic of the body changes. The temperature, the buoyancy, everything in the body, there's a shift. Suddenly you're looking at architecture that's not something just to look at, but something that you feel from within. Peter Zumthor did what most of us usually forget, that aesthetics is not just for the eyes, it is for the entire nervous system. Thermae Valves is almost like a symphony for the nervous system. An environment that orchestrates every sense in your body to feel awakened, to remind you that you're breathing and alive. It doesn't impress you, it inhibits you. It reminds us that true aesthetic intelligence, it's not just about decoration. It's the art of awakening every sense, every cell, every quiet corner of your body. And that's the kind of design that stays with you forever, because what your eyes can't remember, your body will. To put it simply, what I'm trying to say is that if IQ is how we think, EQ is how we feel, then aesthetic intelligence, that is AI, is how you sense things. It's about the art of understanding, perceiving, and articulating feelings, and to use this awareness to add value to design, to business, as well as life. As Pauline Brown states in her book, Aesthetic Intelligence, when a company's aesthetics fail, so does the company. If you see aesthetics as merely appealing to the superficiality of consumerism or to the whims of just design and fashion, then please hear me out, because aesthetics is not just about that. It is one of the most crucial elements of business strategy. In fact, it is the strategy. From Rolls-Royce to Aman Bagh Resorts, from Sabyasachi Mukherjee to Zaha Hadid, all the brands and creators are selling a feeling and not function. When businesses are able to engage a customer on an aesthetic level, they win. Because that's where the meaning is, that's where life is. Aesthetics explain why Airbnb today is one of the biggest and the most leading marketplaces for rental vacation places, beating some of the biggest competitors such as Marriott Hotel, as well as Craigslist, which has had 20 years of head start in the marketplace. Have you ever wondered why? Because Airbnb is not selling listings, it is selling dreams. The website of Airbnb is so intuitive, warm and emotional that 3 steps away and you're not just booking an accommodation, but you're practically imagining belonging somewhere new. People aren't looking to buy stuff anymore, they are seeking richer experiences. Computers can and will always perform functional problems really well, but they cannot and will not be able to find new and meaningful ways to connect us to our humanity. They cannot make us feel alive. Did you know that 85% of our buying decisions are based on emotion and not on analytics or logic? That's why brands like Apple, Walt Disney, Starbucks, Adidas, they are outperforming because they are not selling merchandise, they are selling meaning. These companies have products similar to hundreds of other companies, but what distinguishes them is aesthetics. Apple just didn't sell a gadget, it sold an aesthetic epiphany. That little white shiny object in your pocket that suddenly made music feel very personal. Aesthetic intelligence transforms transactions into experiences, and these experiences into memories. It's the secret sauce that will help you distinguish yourselves from your peers. When a product connects with a customer on a multi-sensorial level, somewhat of a seduction sets in. I would like to quote a few examples here from Pauline Brown's book on aesthetic intelligence. Let's look at Jo Malone for an example. Jo Malone is not just selling perfumes, it is selling self-celebration. It is designed like a gift, and in many cases, it is almost like buying a gift for yourself. From its deceptively simple logo to its simple and elegant packaging, as well as its simple, single food-like scents, such as peppery thyme and white thyme, it is able to attract some of the most influential women to her counters. And why? Because Jo Malone has thought it through. There are a million brands that are selling perfume, but what Jo Malone has done is that it has taken a single commodity and converted that into an experience. And that experience doesn't just stop at the time of purchase. It goes all the way into your house till the time you unwrap a beautiful brown Rogaine ribbon, which is wrapped around a handsomely constructed box that sits beautifully inside a deluxe candy yellow shopping bag. Let's talk about Gucci. Despite of his anti-beauty approach towards patterns, prints and graphics, Michele Alessandro, who took over the reins of Gucci in 2015, was able to penetrate the luxury European market because he gave something to the people, an offbeat and an unconventional way to express themselves. Even though people might find Gucci's prints to be pretty ugly, there is something disconcerting about them. It almost makes you feel challenged. As a matter of fact, Rolls-Royce, which is one of the most sought-out brands for luxury cars as well as airplane engines, found out that smell was what was directly linked to their sales. When Rolls-Royce decided to revamp its production methods, it went from using wooden car parts to some leather-clad plastics in some of their production methods. And when they asked their loyal customers why the sales have gone down, they said that while the earlier cars smelled deliciously woody, the new car smells something of plastic that's used in manufacturing. And that was the reason for the decline in their sales. Take Harley Davidson for an example. You ask anyone what owning a Harley means, and you will hear something of a response such as it means non-conformity, rebellion, freedom, masculinity, and youth. What I'm trying to say is that efficiency isn't a sufficient differential anymore. The delight that aesthetics is able to elicit from brands is what gives them their legacy. And this reaffirms what the head of LVMH, Bernard Arnault, once said, that aesthetics equals longevity. Pauline Brown states in her book that authenticity is the new elegance. What is the simplest, one of the most effective ways of incorporating aesthetic intelligence in your practice? The answer is by being yourself. You must be willing to bring all of your personality, your personal and the professional, to your effort. How one puts themselves together, whether it's simple or complex, as long as there is an intent there, as long as there is consistency there, it works. Some people might find themselves driven towards very bare bone structures because it makes them feel, it expresses simplicity of thought as well as trust. Whereas some people might find themselves getting more drawn towards something more formal and imposing because it expresses power, confidence, and prestige. In fact, I would say that even anti-fashion is fashion. By dismissing the existence of fashion, you're reaffirming its existence. And that speaks volumes about who you are and where your aesthetics are going. The issue is not what style is used, but that style is used, consciously and conscientiously. In essence, just being who you are is just so much more liberating because there's so little energy required as compared to when you're role playing. That's what makes experiences and aesthetic choices feel authentic. Even businesses that are not typically associated with aesthetics, such as healthcare, technology, pharmaceuticals, they need to inject aesthetic designs into their practices or they'll get completely overshadowed and squashed by their competitors. Just being who you are is one of the most sustainable design choices that you can make. Now, in my world of interior design and architecture, I have learned that aesthetics is empathy made visible. Whenever I'm working on a project, I often find myself asking these questions. Who is going to live in these spaces and how are they going to feel when they live in these spaces? And these are the questions that allow me to remove anything that doesn't make sense and only incorporate those elements that are breathing. Now, my personal style is made up of a lot of neutral tones, raw textures, ornamental mirrors, as well as distressed furniture pieces. Where is all this coming from? It is highly contextual. It is coming from the things that I have seen upgrowing. The rugged mountains of Rajasthan, the worn-out fortresses, the vast desertscapes. Every object whispers a memory. Good curation is balanced, balancing the old with the new, the distressed with the polished, the raw with the finished, the serious with the whimsical. Japanese call it wabi-sabi, beauty that breeds imperfection. When I curate a room, I am not merely decorating. Instead, I'm flexing and exercising my aesthetic muscle in order to build stamina, sensitivity, and purpose. And these simple principles apply to other businesses as well. Remove what doesn't work, keep what creates harmony, and let everything else serve the purpose. Author Virginia Postrel, in her book Substance of Style, states that aesthetics is way too important to be left just to the aesthetes, and I 100% agree with her. What an expressive age ours is. Design is everywhere, and everywhere is designed. The signs are all around us. I too believe, like Virginia, that we are living in a very aesthetic age. To quote her, the 21st century is not the sterile future that the old movies had imagined. We, the citizens of the present and future, are not wearing conformist jumpsuits or living in utilitarian high-rises or eating food out of pills. In fact, we are demanding a much more beautiful, bigger, diverse world around us. We want our phone covers and our laptops to shine. We want our vacuum cleaners and our hair dryers to sparkle. We are asking for every city block to serve designer coffee and for every city center to have a nail salon on demand. We demand trees to be put in parking lots, decorative facades on our supermarkets, auto dealerships to be as sleepy and stylish as the cars that they sell. Design is moving from the very abstract and ideological, that is good design, to something that's very personal and emotional. I like that design. Today people will spend $5 extra on a potato peeler that looks and feels good. This is why it is almost imperative that we include aesthetic intelligence in all prospects of our life in order to be able to stand out, in order to win. So to all you young minds listening, you do not have to be a designer to design beautifully. Whether you build business or cook meals, raise ideas or code apps, your aesthetic intelligence is what will make your work human. Artificial intelligence will soon do everything. In fact, it is already doing everything very, very efficiently. But it is aesthetic intelligence which will make life worth living. Machines can optimize, but only humans can enchant. So awaken your senses, feel deeply, design beautifully, and create meaning. Because beauty is not a luxury. It is a way of living, loving, and living. And when you design with meaning, you create a life that will last for a good time. Thank you.